Okay, boomer, you've probably heard this phrase before. A sarcastic way younger people in the West dismiss the baby boomer generation. But did you know Japan has its own version of boomers too? They're called the Dankai generation. And just like their Western counterparts, they're not exactly loved by the younger generations. Today, I'll explain who Japan's boomers are and how they are seen by the rest of society today. Japan's baby boomers were born between 1947 and 1949, right after World War II. In just 3 years, about 8 million babies were born, the largest generation in Japanese history. They've always held power simply through sheer numbers. As they grew up, they dominated every stage of life: education, jobs, marriage, housing, and politics. Every social system was reshaped to favor their generation. In politics, once boomers became the largest voting bloc, politicians started competing to please them with senior-friendly policies. Today, nearly 90% of Japan's social welfare budget goes to the elderly: pensions, healthcare, and nursing care. In other words, they use their population power to shape Japan into a country that's kind to the old and harsh to the young. That's one of the biggest sources of frustration among younger generations today. From the 1960s to the 1980s, Japan was booming. The economy grew by more than 10% a year, jobs were stable, and lifetime employment guaranteed steady raises. The boomers graduated into this golden era, landing secure jobs, rising the ranks, and buying homes easily. Back then, mortgage rates were low, and 86% of them became homeowners. They didn't get rich through hard work, they simply rode the wave of Japan's economic miracle. But in the 1990s, everything changed. After the bubble burst, companies avoided firing older employees. Instead, they cut new graduate hiring to save costs, protecting the jobs of middle-aged boomers while sacrificing opportunities for the young. By 2003, Japan's new graduate employment rate hit a record low of 55.1%, creating what's now known as the employment ice age. While many young people were stuck in temporary or low-paying jobs, the boomers retired with fat pensions and big severance packages. Japan's pension system is pay-as-you-go, which means today's young people works pay for today's elderly. But what they'll receive in the future is far less. Boomers, on the other hand, get far more than what they ever paid in, making them the ultimate free rider generation. They enjoyed Japan's peak prosperity, and when the country began to decline, they protected themselves by sacrificing the younger generation. That's why many young Japanese people say boomers are the generation that ate Japan alive. Here's the irony. Japan's boomers were born in a baby boom, but they didn't create one themselves. During the first baby boom, about 2.5 million babies were born each year. But during the second baby boom, when boomers became parents, that number dropped about 2.09 million. By 1974, Japan's fertility rate fell below the replacement level, and it's been declining ever since. In 2024, the number of births is expected to fall below 700,000, a record low. Many researchers now believe the boomers' generation's choice not to have many children was the key turning point that locked Japan into its population decline. They were the generation that bought homes, cars, and enjoyed luxury travel, but also embraced new values like freedom not to have kids and living for yourself. And yet, those same people now scold the young. Why don't you work harder? Why don't you have children? The truth is, they enjoyed everything Japan had to offer when their life was easy, and now demand that younger generations work and support them. That contradiction fuels the resentment many young people feel today. Another reason for their bad reputation is their attitude. Many boomers still believe in the old saying, "the customer is always God." They're known for being demanding, rude, and condescending toward workers and subordinates. They justify it with pride, saying, "We built post-war Japan." But let's be honest, Japan's rapid growth has driven by generations before them. The boomers just happened to come of age when the economy was already thriving. They didn't rebuild Japan. They simply benefited from its success, and yet they still claim all the credit. To be fair, the boomers generation did face intense competition. There were just too many of them. Getting into school, getting promoted, even getting married, everything was a game of musical chairs. That's why they value ambition, pride, and dominance. They also led the radical student movements of the 1960s, protesting against authority and the government. While that political passion wasn't entirely bad, it also led to violent clashes and chaos. Their aggressiveness, combined with their arrogance, made them hard for other generations to relate to. Just like in the West, where young people say "okay boomer" to dismiss out-of-touch elders, young Japanese feel the same frustration even if they don't say it out loud. When older people scold them, work harder, have kids, stop complaining, many young Japanese quietly think, "You don't get it." Japan's boomers are disliked not because they're old, but because they still cling to power, still dominate politics, and still believe the country should serve their needs. They didn't build Japan's future, they consumed it, and now they expect the young to clean up the mess. That's why the spirit of "okay boomer" is very much alive in Japan today. This channel explains the reality of Japanese society from the perspective of an ordinary Japanese person who has lived here for over 30 years. If you want to better understand modern Japan, please subscribe and hit the like button. See you in the next video.